Hi all, good evening. 7 o'clock, let's get started with the session. Welcome to the 16th edition of the GMAT Q&A session. Time flies like anything. I can't believe that we've done 15 sessions already. Right. In this session, as always, I'll be doing few things. First, I'll start by answering questions that some of you have already posted in your social media handles. I'll complete those questions. Some of those are very, very interesting questions which are going to be useful to all of us. And subsequently, whatever questions you post in the chat window, I'll basically take it from the chat box and I'll answer those questions. Right. On that note, let's get started. We're going to be looking at this. This is the first question that we're going to be looking at. Will I be able to catch R1 if I start right now? Absolutely, absolutely. There is absolutely no doubt at all. We are in the month of February, right? Let's say even if you start by the end of February, the first week of March, right? March, April, May, you go through some kind of a structured program, and then like you do your self preparation, take the mocks, do all of those practice questions the whole of June. By July 15th, if you take the GMAT, you still will be able to catch every single business school's round one deadline without any problem at all. Typical round one deadlines will fall by the end of August of this year or during September of this year. So if you take the GMAT by July 15th, you still have easily 30 to 45 days to complete your application packet, which is in the form of essays. You get the recommendation letters from your employers, get your transcripts in place, the whole works to complete the process. 30 to 45 days is adequate time. And it also gives you adequate room. For example, if the first GMAT does not go the way you want, it still gives you room to do a second round of preparation. Take the enhanced score report, ESR. Whenever you do a GMAT and you think you want to improve your GMAT score, the first thing they're going to be doing is basically get an ESR. Right. Subsequently, look at what areas you need to improve on. Work on that. It will take you about 30 days. You can take the next GMAT 16 calendar days after the first time you took the GMAT, but give yourself about 30 days. So by August 15th, if you take the second GMAT and it goes the way you want it, simultaneously, you would have also worked on your application that by the end of August, first week of September, you'll be able to catch the earliest round deadline. So starting right now is a brilliant thing. Don't delay any further. Can you catch round one deadlines by starting in April? I'm sure you certainly can. But then what happens is you're essentially not giving yourself any headroom at all. Something goes wrong. First GMAT does not go your way. Your GMAT taking gets delayed by 15 days because you've been traveling somewhere, or like something happens in your family, an event that you're not available, you're not able to prepare for 15 days. All of those headrooms vanish if you postpone your GMAT preparation further on, right? February and March is probably the latest that you should start to catch round one deadline, giving yourself adequate headroom, right? So this is a great time to start. There's no element of doubt that you need to have in your mind as to whether this is sufficient time to do the GMAT preparation. It's adequate time, enough and more time, providing you with headroom to account for anything that could go wrong along the way, right? Let's move on to the second question. How effective is an online course for the GMAT preparation? Extremely effective. I don't even want to mince words about it. A few reasons, right? I'll start with the obvious reasons how online preparation is helpful, and then we'll come to the effective part of it in a while, right? Online preparation is effective for 2-3 reasons. One, unlike something like a CAT preparation is available in many cities in India, right? The tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, there are lots of CAT preparation companies which are available. GMAT preparation, typically, because the number of people taking the GMAT is concentrated in a few top cities. Probably the top 10 cities is where you'll find GMAT preparation companies, test preparation companies there. And even there, you'll find only in pockets that would be available. It's not likely to be available in every place. Take a city like Bombay. You're not likely to find a GMAT preparation unless you travel 45 minutes to an hour and a half to reach the test preparation place. So one, it may not be available in a city that you are staying in, or it may not be available close to your place. So online preparation basically takes away this travel business at all, right? Where you have whether to get a center and to travel to the center. Both of those are essentially removed. The second thing it also tells you, gives you is that typically, if you're a GMAT test aspirant, you're going to be a working executive, which means that doing a weekday preparation is not going to be possible. So you're going to condense your preparation totally towards the weekend, which means Saturday, Sundays are the 2 days you'll be preparing, 5 days you'll be working. There's not going to be a consistency to your preparation. Online course possibly will help you break that. It'll let you do the preparation consistently over the week, because online courses typically are early in the mornings or late in the evenings by most test preparation companies, which essentially means that you can prepare thrice a week, 4 times a week instead of just 2 days a week, and it's not cramped toward the weekend. And the other thing to keep in mind is also that many times, even if you think that I can do it during the weekend, that's sufficient for me. Sometimes the course timings, when it is offered, may not suit your personal and professional life. So all of those things are addressed. So that is the helpful component of the online preparation. I'll answer this specific question, which is how effective is an online test preparation. Online test preparation is effective for the following 3 reasons. One, I firmly believe who teaches makes a big difference, right? Because not there are some phenomenal students who have scored 780, 770 in the GMAT, but I'm not sure whether they'll end up becoming very good teachers, because teaching is one skill, one capability, which is different from you scoring high in the GMAT, right? So scoring high in the GMAT and being a good teacher is a combination which is probably hard to find. The second thing is there might be good teachers who may not necessarily score well in the GMAT. So who teaches makes a big difference. Even if you have a center in the city, even if you have a center which is like your next door neighbor, unless you have that person being a good teacher, you're probably not likely to find it. And sometimes if you go to a test preparation company, they might have 2-3 centers in a city. You might find that in center A, the verbal faculty is good, and center B, the quant faculty is good. You can't basically travel to two different parts of the city to attend verbal and quant, even if the test preparation company is willing to do that. Quite often, online test preparation companies give you faculties which are like uniform. They're the best faculties that they have, and they'll be taking classes online. So there is uniformity, consistency, and you basically get good faculty who will teach you. So who teaches matters, and in that place, an online test preparation basically scores on the effectiveness factor very well. The second place where it helps you is basically in an offline class. If you miss a class, let's say this weekend you're not able to go for a class, then what happens? You'll have to wait for the cycle to repeat, or you'll have to essentially like turn upside down and do a million things to fit your schedule and the next time this particular topic is going to appear, that schedule, and then go and attend the class. Whereas when it comes to online, typically all of these classes are recorded and made available to you for a few days after the class is over. So if you miss the class today, you can go ahead and basically catch it up before you attend the next class. So you don't break any cycle of learning. For example, we do SC2 today. You missed this class. Next class is SC3 for this batch. You can get the SC2 compensated, but the SC2 compensation is going to happen after sentence correction 5th class. It really doesn't seem to make sense that way, right? So online classes give you this video recording, which help you to basically catch up with it. The video recording also plays a very important role. The third thing where it comes to be effective, right? In a class, for example, even in an online class, you'll listen to the class, and then you'll have a doubt. You'll ask the doubt, and the doubt probably is explained, but you're not able to catch. Oftentimes it happens to us that we're not able to grasp it at that moment because we are not receiving it properly at that point in time, or like the way it was explained did not make sense to us at that point in time. The video recording is available for you, and many of these courses, especially Wizako's course, also gives you another pre-recorded set of classes for this, right? Essentially, our pre-recorded self-paced course that is also made available to anyone who's attending an online class. So basically, you take a look at that, and this later on, it becomes an encore for you. It becomes a recap for you. At that point in time, probably if you attend the class between 9 and 11 tonight, you asked the doubt and it was explained, and you still did not catch it. Tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock, when you replay it, suddenly you'll get that bulb feeling, right? Hey, now I catch it kind of stuff. All of those are possible. So essentially, who teaches? You tend to get good teachers in an online class. The second place where it helps you is that if you miss a class, you don't have to wait for another cycle or another place to go and attend that class. The continuity is maintained. You can just watch the video the very next day. The third place where it comes in handy is anything that you are not able to catch, anything that you basically kind of lost track of. Many times we lose focus and attention. Those moments, you can go back to the recording and get it done. So all of these ways, online class is extremely effective, especially for something like a GMAT preparation, right? When you're in school and other things, you get a lot more distracted when you are attending these online classes. But as a working professional, someone who's like keen on doing the GMAT because you want to do it, you're likely to take a lot more value out of it. What are the topics that one should consider starting from? Where should I start from? Okay, as far as GMAT Quant is concerned, is what this is, right? I would suggest always start with the easier topics. What is the beauty about starting with the easier topics? They basically give you a lot of momentum to move forward, right? Quite often, people who are preparing for the GMAT, you have 3 to 4 years experience, at least 2 years of experience. The kind of math that is tested in the GMAT was probably a 10th standard level math. The last time you did some math like this, 12th, 11th, 12th, you have not done it. You have not done it for 4 years of your engineering probably, and you probably would not have done it for another 2 more years. So 8 years back, you did something like this. So you want to get into a topic, something like percentages, something like averages, right? These kinds of topics, arithmetic topics, are the ones that basically help you quickly navigate through this. You do those topics, you're able to grasp them, you're able to solve many questions, you're able to solve many questions right, you're able to solve many questions quickly. That kind of gives you the confidence, saying that now I can move forward and then go to the tougher topics. So list down the topics, right? I've told you how to go over it. The easier topics typically would be averages, percentages, profit loss, ratios, simple interest, compound interest, linear and quadratic equations, right? These are probably topics which are the easier topics. You start with these 6 topics. Then navigate to the topics which are slightly more difficult. Move on to things like set theory. Number properties is an important topic, so bring it in right now. Bring in inequalities into the picture, right? And then subsequently move on to the tougher topics. The tougher topics would typically be things like permutation, combination, probability, and the whole of geometry. Because there are people whom I know from my experience of teaching to students for over 20 years, there are people who get geometry like this, and there are people who struggle with geometry. And a vast majority of the students I've seen basically have problem with geometry, because geometry has a lot of concepts, a lot of theorems, and then you'll have to apply many of those things to solve a single question. So if geometry is something up your sleeve, it's something that you typically, it's a walk in the park for you, start with geometry also, I don't have a problem. But for an average student, you should move on to these tougher topics later on. So quickly again, I'll recap: percentages, profits, ratios, simple interest, compound interest, averages. These are the topics which you should start off with. These are the arithmetic topics to get momentum, linear and quadratic equations. Then move on to the next important, slightly more difficult topics: set theory, number properties, and then inequalities. These are those topics, right? So we covered about 9 topics right now. And then more the tougher topics. These tougher topics would typically be ones like permutation, combination, probability, and then you'll have geometry, coordinate geometry. The easier one among that would be the surface areas and volumes and the mensuration, as we call it, right? That topic is going to be the easy among the geometry topic. Both coordinate geometry and plane geometry are things which are tough, so do it toward the end. So this is a way in which you should move about it. The simple reason, we all want to see momentum in our preparation and then navigate through it really quickly, right? I'm going to take the questions in the chat box, a couple of them, and then we'll look at the other questions here, right? See what is given here. The question from Rajat: prepared for UPSC exam after quitting my job, but I failed to get through. To get my career on track, I wanted to study MBA or relevant masters in or outside India and eventually get settled, right? Sole proprietorship firm and will be doing job till I get some good university. Can you guide me with respect to course, country, and future, right? See, couple of things. Rajat, the preparation for UPSC and the preparation for an examination such as GMAT is a little different, right? The UPSC examination needs both width and depth. You need to read a lot, you need to do a lot of things and then like make sense out of it. Oftentimes, to tell the truth, if someone has prepared for UPSC with rigor, that rigor has the ingredients to do justice to a GMAT preparation. How much of what you did there can topic wise be translated, I do not know, but what I can definitely say is the rigor that would have gone into any serious UPSC preparation, that is going to be is of great help when you actually come down to preparing for the GMAT, right? First thing, draw this clarity in your mind. Do you want to look at a career which is India-centric? As in the question that you ask, which country, which course, where do I go, and all of those things. The first question that you need to ask is, do you want a career and do you want to settle down primarily in India? If that is your objective, my thing is, look at programs which are India-centric programs, right? Through the GMAT, the courses that you have, the topmost courses that you have, if you have sub 3 years of experience, you're in a sole proprietorship, you're in a family business and other things, how many years of experience that you're going to show there, I do not know. If it is sub 3 years, probably the best course that's in the offering is basically the ISB programs. Right? Take the GMAT. ISB gives you phenomenal value for settling down in India. If you can show more than 5 years of business experience, then you can actually look at the other programs which are offered by the IIMs, the PGPX programs at the IIMs, right? Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Lucknow, Indore, all of these courses, and a few of the newer IIMs also offer this PGPX programs. Those are great programs to do. And XLRI has a 1-year program which is called the PGDGM program. All of these programs admit students through the GMAT. ISB requires sub 5 years of experience. The other ones that I mentioned require more than 5 years of experience. This is if your primary focus is to settle down in India. If your objective is not to settle down in India, you say that like, I've done my business, I've tried UPSC, now that I've not got UPSC, I'm agnostic to the geography I'm in. I don't mind going and like studying abroad. To study abroad, at least for a few years, you need to work abroad. And sometimes when you work abroad for a while, you may not get relevant opportunities or such juicy opportunities back in India in terms of monetary value that people tend to settle abroad. If the second thing is also okay with you, in terms of places which are very good for immigration, Canada basically tops the list, right? Canada is a very good place to go. Canada has got some 5-6 very good schools, starting from Rotman, which is University of Toronto. You have Queen, you have McGill, you have McMaster's. These are all good business schools to go and study. The best thing about studying in Canada is like if you do a 2-year MBA program there, At the end of 2 years, you get work permit to live there and work for 3 years. It's not the same as H1 in US. H1 in US is difficult to get. It is lottery. It is tied to an employer. Here it is given to you as the candidate, right? Once you complete the master's program, which is a 2-year program, and at the end of it, you can apply for this work permit. That work permit is for you as Rajat. You can work in any company in Canada. You can shift companies and you get to do it for 3 years. If you've worked for 12 months full time and you've contributed to the social security and other things, you can start applying for the PR there. Once you get a PR, then you're practically settled there. Your life is like settled there. You can look for a job, you can shift jobs, you can do anything. You're practically having everything what a citizen there will have, other than the fact that you won't have voting rights. Right. Subsequently, after 4 or 5 years of PR, if you like the place, if you want to settle there, if you want to get citizenship, you can always look at that option. But even if you don't want that, PR is a good thing to basically keep you going there forever. So Canada is very good on that count. Germany is also very good for immigration. Germany has got some brilliant schools. The thing about Germany is you need to get conversant with the German language, right? Any of these places, you go to France, you go to Germany, these two are very good places. They got some lovely business schools. The language of the way the instruction is in English. You don't need to know German or you don't need to know French to study in these business schools. But your ability to find a job, your ability to basically build a career there is a function of how conversant you are in German, how conversant, can you talk to people, can you understand, can you do justice to the German language or the French language is what is going to be important. Schools like USMT, HEC Paris, INSEAD, these are like brilliant names when it comes to business schools in Germany and France. Those are good places to go. Germany particularly has a welcoming immigration policy, so that's another thing that you can look at. Then if you talk about the best of the best schools, right, US basically will have more number of top business schools than anywhere else, any other part of the world or rest of the world taken together as a whole too, right? The top 50 business schools offer you great value. Thing to keep in mind is if you leave out the top names, the marquee names like Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, Kellogg, right, these are the private schools. Getting an admission is quite difficult. It's not just based on the GMAT score. There are multiple factors that go into it, which is true for other schools also. But here, the competition is intense. For every one seat, you get anything from 6 to 8 applications, sometimes even 10 applications for one person who gets admitted into the school. So therefore, they're going to be looking at where you studied, how your undergraduation was, what kind of work experience, how good is your GMAT score. On all these counts, you need to check the boxes, and it needs to be in the top 1 percentile probably to make it to these schools. But you leave these schools and you come to the next level, which is like probably the 15th to the 40th ranked business school. If you have a 740 plus GMAT score, in quite a few of these schools, you're likely to get not only an admit, but tuition fee waiver, which could range anything from 30 to 100%. If you get a tuition fee waiver to study in any of these schools, couple of things happen that basically opens doors to you to wonderful opportunities, because probably with the 50% tuition fee waiver, some of these schools, what you would pay to do an MBA there would be cheaper than what you would spend in India to do an MBA. You'll probably end up spending probably 30-35 lakhs to complete your MBA in such a school. If you spent only 30-35 lakhs to complete an MBA there, and if you did a STEM MBA in the US, you get to do this OPT, optional practical training, for 3 years in US, which is the equivalent of the work permit that you get in Canada. A STEM MBA gets this, you need to do a STEM MBA, and your job needs to be a STEM job, which is when you get this 3-year OPT. There's a video that Shweta has done about the STEM MBA. Google it, basically go to YouTube and search for like Wizako, Shweta, STEM MBA. You'll get that video. Watch that video. She's provided like phenomenal information as to how to go about it, what are the values of it, right? So US provides you with at least a 3-year period where you can actually stay and work there after your MBA, provided it's a STEM MBA. Subsequently, during this while, you'll also give it a shot for the H1 lottery. If your H1 lottery gets converted, you get to work longer and then things look good. The beauty about the US MBA is, US MBA is like accepted in many more parts of the world than many other MBAs. So it's like more of a one-way traffic. With the US MBA, you can find jobs elsewhere. But the same cannot be said for even some of the really top brand name MBAs outside of US. With those MBAs, how easy is it to get a job within US? Not so great. So I would suggest look at these perspectives, keep these in mind. Canada is a great place for immigration. Germany is a great place for immigration. US is a great place to study, and US offers a lot of tuition fee waiver, and schools give you a lot of money in terms of tuition fee waivers to do the MBA, provided you have a good GMAT score. So I think I've kind of answered what you were looking at. Look at the next question, Rohan. I have CAT but not done well, as can't handle LRDA and QA score 218 in NMAT, 96.17 percentile in SNAP. Think of preparing for the GMAT, how much time to study, and how is Woji for GMAT, right? If you're done preparation for CAT, LRDA has been the area of problem for you. Thankfully in GMAT, LRDA is like minimal, as in it's in the form of IR. Integrated reasoning is a lot easier than the LRDA. And the other thing to keep in mind is the integrated reasoning is one of those things whose score is not considered when you're looking at the 200 to 800 score of the GMAT, which is what we typically mention when we talk about the GMAT score. That doesn't mean that you can get a 0 on 8 in the IR. If you keep your head above water, a 6, 7, 8 are all good scores when it comes to IR. If you manage to get, let's say, a 90th percentile, 85th percentile in the LRDA section, you should be able to get a 6 to 8 with some amount of preparation in the IR. Right? There's some tweak, some rework to be done, but it's definitely doable. The place where you have to essentially invest a lot more time, probably about 2 to 2.5 months, including the mock preparations and everything, is in the verbal section. Verbal and GMAT is a completely different beast, right? Verbal and CAT, if you're good in reading comprehension, 2/3 of what is tested in CAT or verbal is primarily reading comprehension. You do justice to reading comprehension, you've actually cracked the VARC section. That's not true of the GMAT verbal. GMAT verbal, there are 3 components: sentence correction, critical reasoning, reading comprehension. All 3 are equally important because you get roughly about 1/3 of the questions from each of these things, and all 3 of them are at least, I'm being very conservative here, a couple of notches more difficult than what you would see in the CAT. So there's a lot of preparation that goes into the GMAT verbal. So done CAT preparation, all you need to do is to top it up with GMAT verbal, do some justice to the IR section by translating your LRDA. You need to get your writing act in place for the AWA. That's probably about 15 hours of preparation. That's all it takes to do justice to it. And then you need to convert what you have done in your quant preparation to handle a beast within quant, which is called the data sufficiency, which will take you about 10-15 days. You solve about 500-700 DS questions, get into the idea about how this basically works, right? All the quant concepts that you have learned in CAT is sufficient to do justice conceptually from a GMAT perspective. But when it comes to the DS component, you need to rework it, you need to think about it differently. You can't walk into the examination saying that I'll handle the quant section of the GMAT by what I did with CAT. That's basically not doing justice to GMAT preparation, and you would be setting yourself up for a very average GMAT quant score despite doing a good preparation for the CAT quant. So do justice to data sufficiency, do justice to the GMAT verbal, which is significant amount of preparation. Tweak your LRDA, do some questions, do about 25, 40, 30 sets of IR, and then invest 15 hours in the AWA section. So that's all the preparation that you need to do to convert your CAT, SNAP, MAT, and the works into a GMAT score, right? You should basically take about 6 to 8 GMAT mocks to get into the idea about it. Time yourself. Time is crucial in all of these examinations. It's even more crucial in GMAT because you can't afford to skip a question. Get used to all of those things. I think 720 plus is there for you, and if you invest about this 2.5 months to translate your CAT preparation into the GMAT preparation. I'm taking the next question. Crazy Gamer, sir, scored Q36 in my first attempt. How much can I increase in a month? Q36 in your first attempt, basically go and do a couple of things. Get this ESR, Enhanced Score Report. Take a look at, when you're saying it's a first attempt, I presume it's not the first mock, it's the first GMAT exam itself, right? Look at what went wrong, right? This is the timing. Right? Sometimes you would have basically spent too much time in the examination that you would have realized that they basically tell you how much time that you took for a question on an average, for the correct questions, for the incorrect questions in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. Basically, out of the 31 questions in the quant section, 28 count toward the final score. So you're going to say the first 7 that count to it, how many minutes on an average did you take? How many percentage of questions that you got right? And all of these things will be mentioned there. Basically, look at that, get an idea. For example, if you realize that your errors are stacked toward the end, right? The last 25 percentile of the time, you basically finished a question in 45 seconds and you got 5 out of the 7 questions incorrect. That basically means that it's not that you're bad in math. Your practice was probably not adequate. And you basically spent too much time in the initial questions. You probably worked out more questions upfront and took more time for it than you should have actually done it. Let's say the third question, you did not figure out what was happening in it. But someone told you that the initial questions matter a lot, and therefore you invested. And without realizing, you spent 5.5 minutes in that question. That would have taken away all the time that you could have had to answer the questions at a later point in time. So understand, is it concept? Is it practice? Is it time that I set? Is it the way I paced the examination? What basically went wrong? Get a handle on it. If you prepared with a test preparation company, share your ESR score with them. Get one of those mentors, get one of those tutors to kind of help you navigate through this, because you probably need about a month or a month and a half to move from Q36 to Q49 if you know what went wrong. Otherwise, you'd be doing all over again without even knowing which one to basically, as in you do not know where to basically focus your attention on. You do the same thing again. It could land up incidentally in a higher score, but you're probably not sure. Be absolutely sure what you need to do and get going there. ESR is a must. Get it through someone, get their guidance on how to go about it. Right. Uh, Someone asked, I forgot this question about Rohan. Uh, how is Woji for GMAT? Woji is a must for GMAT, right? The three versions of Woji. One is the big book, which has got about 1,000 questions. There are two reviews, quant review, verbal review. Together, they will have about 700 plus questions. And there is an advanced Woji, right? If you're preparing for the GMAT, in addition to any test preparation material that you use, be it Wizako, be it any other company that you're preparing with, you necessarily will have to solve these 2,000 questions in the Woji. It's like when we were preparing for the board examinations, right? All of us in India would have taken the previous 3 years paper. We would have taken the sample paper given by the board that year, right? So if you write those many number of questions, if you solve the previous year questions, you probably know what is likely to happen this year. The OG questions are official retired questions. So if you solve 2,000 retired questions, the questions that you're going to be seeing, they're not going to be the same, but they're going to be similar. So you actually know what to expect. If this comes, this is what it is likely to be. This is how it's likely to play out. So that familiarity comes. So you need to necessarily solve OG and probably all three versions of OG. I see Shweta there. Thank you. Thank you, Shweta, for joining us. Right. Study material for quant. Wizako offers one of the very good material for quant, especially our self-paced online course. The Wizako online course, the core course, is primarily focused on the quant section alone. The pro course has quant and verbal, and it's got some more for quant. We basically have full-length quant tests in the pro course. We have full-length, we have 700 plus questions which are available in the pro course. So you could possibly get started with the core program, and then you can upgrade it to pro, or you can straight away start with the pro program. These are very attractively priced. Spend 5,900 rupees for a 4-month access to the pro course, and you can do justice to the entire GMAT quant. Everything starts from the basics, and then we have adequate number of practice questions on a topic-based basis, quizzes, checkpoint quizzes, and finally we round it up with 700 plus questions and full-length quant section test. So this is one material. Then do the OGs, right? All three versions of OGs. There are about 502 questions in the OG big book, about 370 odd questions in the review, so that makes it 870, and another 150 in the advanced book for the quant part alone. So you're talking about give or take about 1,000 questions for the quant and 1,800 questions within Wizako portal, right? 2,800 questions is adequate number of questions and given to you in a structured way that you can do justice for the GMAT quant part. Sharad Jha. Sir, online GMAT is still accepting in top business schools abroad and for executive in India, right? I've scored 730 today. Sure, that's awesome. 730 is a brilliant score. Yes, there's absolutely no distinction between whether you took it in the center or you took an online GMAT, right? It's all the same. You don't even have to have an iota of doubt. They are exactly the same. The 730 in the center is a 730 online. No one is going to say, hey, you scored a 730 in online, so I will probably reduce 50 points from it and make it a 600. No, no. It's all, I'll make it a 680. It's all the same. 730 is an awesome score. Congratulations. 11 years experience in paramilitary forces, targeting IMA, ISB, PGP Max. Cracking GMAT is target now. I got your reply. Let me check. Okay, super. Okay. Can freshers take up GMAT? That's Abhishek Pal. Yes, certainly. Especially if you're in a final year of college, I would recommend take the GMAT. A few reasons why I would say you should take the GMAT. First and foremost, that's probably the best time to prepare for the GMAT. Ask anyone who is working, right? They'll say that I don't find adequate time to prepare for the GMAT, right? You'll have to travel to work. You can't tell your boss that you're preparing for the GMAT. You probably have other personal commitments. That taking time out to prepare for GMAT is actually a lot of motivation that you should have to do that, right? It's not so easy. When you're in college, it basically, you can fit 2 hours of preparation every day along with what you do in college. And let's be very honest, oftentimes, most of us in college, we do preparation only during the examination. And final year for most courses is project work and relatively free. So that's the best time to prepare for the GMAT. Unlike an examination such as CAT, where the score is valid only for the year in which you write the examination, GMAT score is valid for 5 years. So if you take the GMAT at the final year of your college, the score is valid for 5 years. Any time from the time you graduate to 5 years from then, you can apply with this GMAT score. Right? That's a window that you have. Now that I mentioned that it's easy to prepare and that's a window that you have, let me tell about what are the courses that you can apply as a fresher. There are these courses which are called the Masters in Management or their equivalent. MIM is famous in Europe, and these are offered as MS in Management in the rest of the world. These are courses which have curriculum which is similar to MBA, but they focus on admitting people who are freshers. In fact, if you look at some of these schools in Europe, they'll say that if you have more than 12 months, right, you can't have more than 1 year of experience to join this MIM program. If you have more than 1 year, then they'll say, hey, take a couple of more years, come back to us and apply to us for the MBA program. So MBA program and MIM program are offered by the very same schools. HEC Paris offers it, INSEAD offers it, London Business School offers it, St. Gallen offers it. So the top schools in Europe that you can think of offer the MBA program and also offer MIM program. MIM program is similar curriculum, pretty much the same, focused on people with little or no experience. Freshers is what we are talking about. Whereas the MBA requires in Europe anything from 48 plus months of average experience. So it is, look at it as an MBA for freshers, and therefore a different degree is offered. So what's the catch? Two things which are like positive about the MIM program. One, you can get to join it as a fresher, and you can therefore get started with a management career much before you earn any amount of experience. So you don't do pre-MBA 4 years and then start doing an MBA and then get into the post-MBA work. You actually complete 1 year of experience or lesser. As a fresher, you get into this business school, complete this master's program, and start a career which is a management career. First thing. The second thing is because you don't have any pre-experience, you're open to working in any industry. Let's say you work for 7 years in manufacturing. For you to shift to finance is a little more difficult than a fresher who wants to join any of these sectors. So finding a job in any sector becomes easy because you don't carry any baggage with you for this fresher MIM program. What is the con for it? If you had pre-MBA experience and then you go to an MBA and then you start a job, you probably are likely to join at a lateral level in a company, not as a management trainee. To give an example, you probably will start off with $115,000 job if you start post-MBA. Whereas with an MIM equivalent program, MS program, you're likely to start off with $78,000 to $80,000 as a starting average salary. So there's a difference of about $35,000. But look at it, you worked 4 years pre-MBA in an IT company or a manufacturing sector. Do an MBA and then you start with $115,000. Look at what an MIM, MS in management student, fresher, 2 years of this program, 4 years down the line, he or she would have started at $80,000. 4 years down the line, that number will catch up to the $115,000. So you're going to catch up very easily, but this is a program focused on freshers. So as a fresher, you can join this. The other thing to keep in mind is a lot of top business schools, both in India particularly it's ISB, no one else in India. ISB has this program called the Young Leaders Program, YLP. In the US, there are a lot of programs, including Wharton, Kellogg, Harvard, Stanford, MIT, Columbia. Top business schools that you look at, they have this program which are called the deferred MBA programs, which essentially are the programs where you take the GMAT when you're in a final year of college, you apply to these programs to do an MBA. Let's say you're graduating in 2023. You apply to them in 2022, 2023. You get selected by these programs for the MBA, the real MBA, the one that typically people join, in 2025. So it's like reserving a seat for a 2025 MBA. What the school says is, I'm making you an offer, you pay a commitment fee if you're selected for this thing, and then you gain experience for 2 years, and then come and join my program. And then there are business schools in India, like XM. I'll show that list because someone else has asked this question saying that, can I do the GMAT to get into an MBA in India? I've given you a list of schools, and there are a lot many more programs that offer it. Just listed on some of the top business schools which take the GMAT in India. So in India, for freshers, there are schools which accept the GMAT score for their flagship program. Right? So these are all the possibilities that exist for you. One, best time to prepare is when you're in college. The score is valid for 5 years. The MIM programs are great options. The deferred MBA programs are another option that's available to you. Indian business schools accept it. So when you're in your final year of college, please do the GMAT. And many times people don't do it. They think that GMAT is for people only with experience. Joining an MBA program is for people with experience. Writing the GMAT is not. GMAT does not have any age limit other than saying that you should be 13 years and above. And you are definitely 13 and above, so therefore you don't have a problem applying to this. Right. I'm going to look at what strategy can I adopt if I'm planning to write in April. Right, for writing in April, we are in mid-February. Push it to end April if you can. So you give yourself adequate amount of time. You're giving yourself roughly about 75 days of preparation time. In these 75 days of preparation time, use the first 45 days to wrap through all concepts and go through concepts in depth. As in, like, it's not just the how, what, when, where. Those kinds of questions are also to be asked for any of these things, be it verbal, be it quant. Do justice to that component of it. The last 30 days, first 10 days, probably do sectional tests. Right. Basically, pick the Woji. The easiest way to go with Woji, for example, is there are 502 questions in the quant section, for instance. Right. Pick 18, 19 problem-solving questions. Take about 12, 13 DS questions. Make a test available. Do a paper-based test. The Woji, if you have bought it, you can also do it as an online companion to make this happen. Take the test for 31 minutes, 62 questions. Do sectional tests with the Woji content after you've done the preparation for the first 45 days. Do these section tests for 10 days. You get yourself acquainted with doing, hey, I'm able to sit for an hour, I'm able to do justice to quant, I'm able to do justice to verbal. And then the last 20 days, top it up with 6 mock cats, right? There are 6 mocks available, official mocks available on MBA.com. They're probably for the best ones to go through it. Take the mock, take a mock a day, analyze it the next day, bridge the gaps the third day, take the next mock the fourth day. So day 1 mock, day 2, day 3 to make amends, use the mock as a feedback loop, get value out of it. Day 4 is the next mock, and that's how you proceed. Is Q48 good enough for top school admit, scholarship, and probably IB consulting roles? Overall 740. No, no, I don't. I thought I'll soften it, but Q48 is okay. Okay, especially because you're talking about IB consulting, right? For a good business school, it probably is still possible. Q48 works out about 65, 66th percentile. So schools might expect a little more, especially the top business schools. And the second thing also is like, especially looking at IB consulting, those guys are a lot more choosy for the simple reason. Everyone in campus, okay, that's probably too much of a generalization. Many people in any good business school will want to take up these jobs because they're like the fancier jobs. They get you a lot of work experience which are unique, different, and you learn a lot in any of these careers because like you span across multiple industries. You talk to the CEOs quite often. You basically work with markets. Those are all very enticing jobs to be. They pay a lot. They pay tons of money, right? So basically, everyone will be competing for it. At that point, they are going to showcase every single thing they're going to have. They'll say, in LKG, I was a gold medalist. I was the best outgoing student in UKG. They're going to pick every single strand that they can think of and they're going to showcase it. And these guys are going to say that, hey, I have a 750 in the GMAT and that carries a Q50 and a V40 or a V42 or something like that. So if you're looking at IB and consulting, probably you need to up your quant score. Whereas we're looking at a good business school admit, this could possibly still pass the muster, right? If you have the energy and if you have the time, my suggestion is give the GMAT another shot, right? Your verbal would have been really good. 740 would mean that you're probably in the V43, V44. Just keep it chugging along and then do justice to your quant. Take the ESR score. If you can push it to even 49, that's a 74th percentile, still good. 50 is awesome. That would keep you in the mid 80s or higher 80s percentile. Right? Praveen, can freshers, we have taken that. So those scores available for 5 years, but nowadays I see business school writer, they consider GMAT taken between mentioned dates as, that's predominantly by the Indian business schools. See, Indian business schools ask for too many conditions. If you go outside India, this 5-year validity is 5-year validity. The schools are not going to say you need to take a recent GMAT for that. So don't worry too much about it, right? Quickly run through the other questions that are there, right? This is a question that I actually wanted to address. Can I leave out any topic if I find it difficult? Like for instance, SC, and be thorough in CR and RC. Will it hamper my score? Again, I don't have a positive answer here. It is going to hamper your score. Right? If it asked me in quant, can I skip permutation combination? I would have said, please go ahead and do it. Not that you won't get questions in permutation combination. Permutation combination probably are going to get 2 or 3 questions max. And that's a topic which quite a lot of us might find it difficult to navigate through. And you will invest inordinately a lot of time into that. And that would delay your overall preparation, right? So skipping one such topic in quant is not going to do harm to you, right? It cannot be number properties. It cannot be geometry. It can be a permutation combination. It could possibly be one of those topics which probably have 2 questions appearing from them. That's livable. Sentence correction. It's 1/3 of the GMAT bubble. You cannot afford to do that. And it is very crucial that you do justice to it. Give yourself about a month to do justice to a sentence correction, right? Shweta is a wonderful teacher when it comes to verbal. The way she breaks down SC concepts is also brilliant. You might probably want to take a look at our trial classes available, right? The pre-recorded course Pro has a few lessons taught by Shweta which are in sentence correction. You could even take a demo with us for the sentence correction class whenever that happens. See if this teaching methodology helps you gain that confidence that, hey, I can make and do justice to the SC. CR and RC do very well, right? That's good. But SC, you can't afford to skip. You can't. It's simply not possible. Sorry. is taking GMAT a good option for targeting institutes within India? I think I kind of answered this question. But look at the schools that I mentioned, right? ISB obviously is tops the chart when it comes to people with sub 5 years of experience. The IIMs have the PGPX program in multiple form. They call it EMBA and all of that, right? ABCLI are like basically good places to go and do this. XLRA Jamshedpur, the PGDGM program, SPJ and MDA, XM, these use the GMAT score for their flagship program itself, right? So these are schools that you can apply to with this, right? So see if there are any more questions. Which top schools offer the best terms of scholarship, especially the one-year programs, mostly in Europe? European programs do give some scholarship, but it's not as much as what you're likely to get in the US. You're not going to get 100% tuition fee or anything. Probably 30 to 40% is what you'll get. Again, the INSEADs and the HEC Parry, they probably would look at a lot. They're a lot more competitive. The other schools might be probably easier to get some scholarship. ISEG is a school that you can look at. You can look at Spain schools, IE, IASC. So these are schools where with a 740 score, you're likely to swing some amount of scholarships and tuition fee waiver. But even that, it's not going to be of the order of magnitude that we hear from US. US, a lot of our students have got 100% tuition fee waiver. Some of them even got $2,000. We had a student from Bangalore in 2017 or something. He got a 750 in the GMAT. He had a 337 in GRE. He went to Ohio State University. He got full tuition fee waiver and also got scholarship money to basically live there, right? So that kind of money is available in the US. US schools are generous and they have more endowment to offer than schools, their counterparts in Europe. So amount of money that you're going to get is probably 30%, 25%, at best 50% tuition favor, and that still is a meaningful amount of money. Right? On that note, probably call it a day. If you're looking for self-paced courses, we have a pre-recorded online course taught primarily by me and Shweta. I handle quant and Shweta handles verbal. Shweta scored a 780 in the GMAT, scored a Q51 in the quant section of the GMAT. Right. We also have live online classes, which right now run on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. IST. So if you're interested in joining for those, I would recommend that you take a demo class with us, attend a class, check out how it is, see whether that method of teaching makes sense for you. If it does, you should possibly consider this. So these are two things. These are the URLs wzko.in/demo for the live online class. For the pre-recorded version, wzko.in/gmat is what you should look at. Thanks for staying with us. Good questions both before the session and during the session. Best of luck for your GMAT preparation. Start now. Don't delay any further. Starting with the first week of March is the latest that you should do to do justice to catching R1 deadlines of US business schools. 740 plus in the GMAT opens many, many doors, and that's in your reach. It's definitely possible. 5 to 6 months of preparation. The lovely thing about the GMAT examination is it is an examination which rewards hard work, which rewards preparation. Systematic, structured preparation, investing about 2 hours a day for 3 to 5 months, depending upon have you done a preparation of this kind earlier or not, should help you get that score. There are no surprises, right? We all know that the Indian examinations throw surprises, right? There's always that one curveball which comes at you, you do not know what is happening. GMAT does not do something. GMAT is an examination. It's not easy, but it says it's a structured exam. It's a standardized test. You do justice to your preparation, we will reward you with good scores, is the kind of examination. So it's an awesome examination to prepare and get rewarded for it. Best of luck, guys.